there's so much more that we're going to do, and we're going to talk about a lot more stuff over the upcoming weeks and months. But here's the thing. None of that matters if you don't win. There is no substitute for victory. And we have a task in front of us to shake the culture of losing that has infected the Republican Party in recent years. We were supposed to have a massive red wave in November of 2022. Biden is one of the most unpopular presidents in modern history. It is just, you don't even have to campaign, some said. You're going to see Senate and House big majorities. And yet, we had a red wave in Florida. We had good stuff in some other states, but we had huge disappointments across the board. We have 49 Republican U.S. senators. We should have 55 Republican U.S. senators right now. We need to stop frittering away winnable elections. And so we're not getting a mulligan on 2024. We got to get it done. And the Democrats are playing for keeps. If they're able to sweep and win the White House, win the House, win the Senate, they are going to pack the U.S. Supreme Court. They are going to eliminate the Electoral College. They're going to make Washington, D.C. a state, and they are going to eliminate voter ID in every jurisdiction in this country and mandate that every state allow ballot harvesting. That is not an agenda that's speaking to the kitchen table concerns of the average American family. No, that's an agenda where they're trying to ensconce themselves in power for a generation. And if we let them get away with it, it will take us a generation to dig out of the hole that they dig. So we have a lot of work to do. President Reagan used to say freedom's one generation away from extinction. It's not passed along in the bloodstream. It needs to be cultivated and fought for. And for most of my adult life, I thought that was a little bit of an exaggeration. I mean, we're Americans, right? Isn't this just something that's in our DNA? But I don't think anyone could have lived through the last 4 or 5 years and not have an appreciation for how fragile freedom really is. Each generation does have this responsibility to cultivate it. Our founding fathers understood this. When they went to Philadelphia in 1787 to craft our Constitution, they came armed with the knowledge of having studied every republic in the history of mankind, because they wanted to draw lessons from those experiences that they could apply here in America. And what they figured out was all those republics, there was really only one thing that they all had in common, and it was this. Every one of them had failed. And so they understood it fell to the United States of America to determine, can people really govern themselves? Can you have a society based on the idea that our rights come from God, not from the government? That we live under a rule of law, not a rule of individual men? Or was mankind forever destined to live under various forms of despotism? And they fully expected that this country would be the ones that ultimately decided the fate of freedom in the world. And when Benjamin Franklin walked out of that convention, he was asked, Dr. Franklin, what have you given us, a republic or a monarchy? He said, a republic if you can keep it. They understood you could have the best Declaration of Independence in the world, you can have the best Constitution in the world. These things do not run on autopilot. They require citizens to be engaged and to fight for the preservation of these freedoms. So our duty is to preserve what the founder of our country called the sacred fire of liberty. It's a fire that burned in Independence Hall in 1776 when 56 men pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to establish a new nation conceived in liberty. It's a fire that burned at a cemetery in Gettysburg when our first Republican president pledged this nation to a new birth of freedom. It's a fire that burned 79 years ago on the shores of France when a merry band of brothers stormed the beaches of Normandy, defeated the Nazis, and preserved freedom in this world. It's a fire that burned at the foot of the Brandenburg Gate at the Berlin Wall in 1987 when a Republican president said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, and defeated communism. So our generation now is called upon to carry this torch. It's a responsibility that we should not shy away from. It's a responsibility that we should welcome. We have to stand firm for the truth, and we have to remain resolute in defense of core American and enduring principles. I believe we have it within our power to reverse American decline. And here's my pledge to you. If you help me be the Republican nominee for president in 2024, you can set your clock to January 20th, 2025, high noon on the west side of the Capitol, because I'll have this hand on the Bible, I'll have this hand in the air, and I will be taking the oath of office as the 47th president of these United States. No excuses. I will get it done. We will restore the great United States of America.